Hi, guys. Welcome back to another fabulous episode of the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I'm your host, Erika, and today we are diving into a powerhouse leadership, money, and the art of building life and business. Now, I know I talk about manifestation and I talk about money and things of that nature, but this episode for me is something that I think is going to be a powerhouse and powerful, so to speak. So, my guest today is Mel Carr. She is a powerhouse. That I will tell you. She really is. She is a multi number one international best author. She's the founder of the Global Six Figure Chicks, which we're going to talk about today, and I'm so excited about. She's the CEO of a VA agency. Is it Clover Sea?
Clover Sea, you got it.
Yes, I got it right. And then she's also a creator of a nonprofit called Her Right to Rise. So without further ado, I just name a long list here. I can go on for days, but I want to introduce her myself. Mel, thank you so much for being here. And just so we can start off a little bit here, I know I was intrigued from the moment we started talking in reference to about the six figure chicks and especially the nonprofit. So I'm glad that we're going to talk about it today. But for the listeners that may not know who you are, where did your journey begin with your businesses?
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you again. Yes, I could talk to you forever because of your fantastic energy. My journey started for my company creations about 5 years ago after
Okay.
I was done, 20 plus years in corporate, traveling all over the world. I moved to Arizona and I thought, gosh, well, how can I create a business for myself? I wanted to
Yeah.
stop making money for other people and really bring in the business, the funds for myself, and know that what I was working towards was creating a future for me. And I took my knowledge and expertise from guiding, building other companies into my
Uh-huh.
own company and created Clover Sea. So Clover Sea was created right before the COVID craziness. And
Hmm.
so it was a great time for me to introduce kind of my company of the executive level virtual assistants for companies that don't necessarily need a full time support system. A lot of people have heard of virtual assistants. I pride myself on offering talented virtual assistants from right here in the US, all woman led US based virtual assistant teams. I think there's so much work to give here in the US and so many fantastic women that are looking for side gigs or work from home that can use their expertise and talents on a virtual stage. And yeah, from there, Six Figure Chicks was born a few years later, and the book's right behind me. And I was like, I wanted to give a voice to successful females and to share the experience of being able to publish your story in an international best-selling book, not
Hmm.
even write a whole book. We just write one chapter each. So it's the quickest, easiest way to become an international best-selling author without having to do all of the work in writing a whole book.
I like that. I do because I need to learn how to put that on my manifestation for a book. I
Yes.
feel like there's so many different talented women here in the United States that there's so many hidden talents that people have that not a lot of people know. And so I feel like with the six figure chicks, I think that's really cool to bring like new entrepreneurs involving into the book and have, like you said, one chapter each time. And so you said you started Cloverseed 5 years ago, correct?
Yeah.
What made you start Cloverseed 5 years ago, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I had just wrapped up some years living overseas, moved to Arizona, which was a totally new space location for me. I didn't know a lot of people, but I
Mhm.
started making friends and acquaintances with small business owners and seeing gaps in their companies and talking to them and just listening to their issues. And I was like, gosh, okay, well, I think I can take the leap and open my own company, create my own brand,
Mhm.
and really used the resources that I was speaking with the company owners that go, wow, I know I need to be more present on social media, but I just
Mhm.
don't like doing it. And I don't know who to turn to. Or your inbox management. Like we get so many emails every day. Like we don't necessarily need to be the ones in our inbox all the time. And so yeah, so I started the company Cloversea and was able to bring on business coaches to help me scale my business properly and to give me the tools necessary to be a
Mhm.
successful entrepreneur.
I do like that. And so, like, for me, I feel like when you start a new chapter in something, especially into entrepreneurship, you don't know a lot of the ins and outs. For me, I started my podcast about 6 months, almost a year. It'll be almost a year here.
Right.
And I started in April of this year. So by April of next year, it'll be a year, which is pretty exciting. So there's still things that I'm still learning as I don't know if being a podcaster is a small business, I want to say. I guess it falls into like an entrepreneurship, but there's so many things that I'm still intrigued with learning about podcasting, like um for example, how people do their live streams and or how people make revenue, which I told myself the revenue is going to come, it's going to manifest itself. I do have a question. What was the moment that made you realize you were ready for something bigger? I know you said you wanted to stop the whole 9 to 5, which a lot of people are starting to gear towards away from 9 to 5, and AI is coming into form. So, what made you decide on like you no longer wanted to work for somebody and you just wanted to work strictly for yourself?
Well, when I moved to Arizona, I was preparing to work for a new company, set up the applications, did the interview processes, and I just did not feel like pulled in any one direction to work for any one company. So I was like, gosh, what am I going to do? Like, I just don't want to accept a position just to be working
Mhm.
and make money. And so I sat down and was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And, I think I'm ready to take that big leap into entrepreneurship. I had no idea, what I was in for, but I was like, okay, let's use my experience that I've gain from working with other small businesses and helping in their
Mhm.
operations and their business management. So I had those starting tools to understand how to run a successful business. I just didn't know, if mine would be as successful as I imagined. And so that's when I brought in the coaches and had mentors in my life and just knew that, yeah, as long as I have the right people in my corner offering
Mhm.
advice, that, I have all the tools necessary for success. And yeah, so it was just one of those times that I was ready to take the leap into the next chapter of my life. And I am so happy that I did that. And it's been an up and down roller coaster of a ride. There's some good days and bad, but I mean, the bad days are just there to help um, be even better the next day and to learn what didn't work and what worked and continue pushing forward.
I like that. So I know we're about to get into a really fun topic, which is the birth of six figure chicks, which I am so excited to talk about. So, without further ado, guys, when I came across her posts, I said I have to have her on my podcast. I just had to. So, I know your six figure chicks movement has been such an empowering space for women, not just for women, but for myself in general. When, like I said, when I read your post, I said she has to come on because I need more entrepreneurs to come onto the podcast. I know I talk about things about motherhood and I talk about things about mental health, but no one gets to hear about the entrepreneur side of business. So I wanted to get a little bit more business involved with my podcast as well, so people can know everything's a little bit diverse. So, with Six Figure Chicks, what inspired you to create the book series and the community first and foremost?
Yeah, it's a great question, which I get asked a lot because it's, something that not a lot of people really understand the in and outs behind book collaborations. But
Mhm.
I've worked on book collaborations with other clients through Cloversea.
Mhm.
And then when I was approached by a publisher, she told me the exact same thing I said at the beginning is the book collaborations are the easiest first step into becoming a published author because
Mhm.
you have to write a chapter. But then I thought, okay, great. I'm going to do a book collaboration, but what do I write about? And I thought back to my 20 plus years in corporate where, you're in a corporate space, you're, clock in, clock out. We don't really talk about finances or how much money we make or how many clients we brought in. We just
Mhm.
go to work and see who can rise the rankings the quickest. And it wasn't a lot of, come together and support and empower each other. And I thought, let's change that because entrepreneurship was a whole different world for me. It was a
Mhm.
little bit lonely because you're in it by yourself.
Right.
And so I thought, how can I build a community, a book collaboration where women come together, we celebrate our success. It's all about empowerment and inspiration.
Mhm.
I thought, let's come together and share our stories of success that are real, raw, sometimes messy. They're not like all polished and perfect like we
I love
see
that.
social media. And
Yeah.
it's more than just a dollar amount or the six figures. It's about sharing our real journeys of success with others so that they can understand that they're not alone. Other
Mhm.
tried things that they're thinking about doing or that they have done that didn't work. And we share those roadblocks and challenges that we've gone through just so that other people know they can do it too and they can be as successful or more than us.
I like the birth of Six Figure Chicks. I like how you told that story because it does bring one, it brings joy that it's something where women are coming together, not only empowering each other, but supporting because you don't see that, like you stated, you don't see that in a 9 to 5 in the corporate world. And now I feel like in corporate America right now, everything is a numbers game and everything gets you're working 9 to 5, but is it really fulfilling that 9 to 5? Like, are you really fulfilled with that? And I think that's one of the questions I ask for myself is I want to don't get me wrong, I like the 9 to 5, it's cool. But when you do it for so long, you feel like what else is out there? Like you see, like you said, on social media, you see the glitz of everything, but you
Mm.
don't see the raw emotions behind it because social media shows a pretty much of a what's the word? A facet of what it looks like on the forefront,
Mm.
but behind the scenes, it's really messy and it's really raw. And you have bad days and then you have good days. So I like how you're bringing that Six Figure Chicks, you're bringing it more to life in reference to getting more women to support each other. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I
Um,
would say as I wanted to kind of talk a little bit of what you said at the beginning of like, you talk a lot about motherhood and mental wellness, and my businesses are my babies, so that's where I find the most joy and passion
mhm,
is giving back to our clients and giving back to these successful women that really come into their own after writing their story, and that is so healing that
mhm,
for them to see, gosh, this is my story in black and white. My name is printed in a book. I am an
mhm,
international bestselling author. I've shared something so close and personal that I haven't shared with a lot of people that can
mhm,
be very freeing and healing to the authors of coming out of the book publishing and go, oh my gosh, they can really step into what they have created for
mhm,
themselves. And we do highlight women that are six-figure earning females in a professional career working
mhm.
for somebody else, because that isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
You can really enjoy what you do, but also those entrepreneurs that have built the success. So I love being able to share both sides of the coin. Like you can work for somebody and then really have a good life, or you can work for
Mhm.
yourself. And you
Yeah.
can do a combination of both, like you.
Mhm. Yep. I feel like I'm in that boat where I am working the 9 to 5, but I also enjoy doing doing podcasting. And I also I'm getting back into enjoying again doing like crafting and things like that again. Cause like I said, the crafting was kind of shut down for a minute, but then like just with this event, I'm kind of like, oh, I want to do this welcome sign and oh, I want to make the gift bags. And it's coming back to life where I'm like, this is cool. And for somebody to be interested in me, I kind of get kind of shy because I'm like, what are you interested in me for? Like, there's not really that I'm just a mom. I'm not really that intriguing. But when I hear people say they like my energy and I like other people's energy and giving back, I feel like I've done something right. And I like with the six figure chicks where it shows how inspiring and how empowering and how freeing and healing it can be. One of the questions I have is why do you think so many women struggle to celebrate their wins and their own successes?
That's a great question. And that's where we can become real with ourselves and own that it is such a normal feeling
Mm-hmm.
to feel judged by others. Like, oh gosh, I don't want to say anything about my success because I don't want other people to think down on me or think that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, being boastful or think that I'm better than anyone else. Like, and that's farthest from the truth is that we should celebrate our success and our wins
Mm-hmm.
in every part of our life because other people are watching, other family members, your children, your close
Mm-hmm.
partners, and other family members. They can be like, wow, they can look up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of them for all that they worked for. And so that's the real power in owning your success and really standing in your voice and knowing that
Mm-hmm.
you matter and that everything that you create impacts so many other people.
And I like how you said you emphasize on that you matter because it is very true, especially if you're going through like a mental situation, so to speak. Sometimes mentally it things can drain you and it can drain you physically. So I get where you're saying like celebrating your wins. And I think one of the things I'm going to for sure add on my bucket list a little bit more is to celebrate the small things because I don't normally celebrate the small things, but when I do, I'm kind of like, I don't really want to talk about it. And then I just move on, like I'd rather have somebody else celebrate their stuff first. And then I'm like, okay, well, this happened. And they're like, oh, why you didn't share this? And I'm like, you're more important than me. So
Right.
I like that. And I like how we're about to talk about the confidence and scaling with peace because what are the top three things that you would say that women should delegate first to grow without burning out?
Yeah. So that's like for anyone that is an entrepreneur that has their own business that just started up and is growing in their business, I would say the top three things could be anything that fit in these categories is one, you don't have enough time to do it, you don't like doing it, or you just don't know how to do it, but you think you
Mhm.
have to figure it out. Like if, you reached the stage of like, okay, well, I know I need to start sending out newsletters and email blasts. So that's when you need to sign on with a program and get a CRM program going, a customer relation data program. But you don't know how to do it. That's not in your wheelhouse of genius.
Mhm.
Your expertise is coaching. That doesn't mean your
Right.
expertise should be in creating newsletters. So that fits
Yeah.
in the category of like, you don't know how to do it and you don't have enough time to do it. So you shouldn't be doing it. And those things are delegatable. So make the list of those top things that you don't have time to do, you don't like doing, or you don't know how to do.
I like that. That does can shift the burning out. I will say that because if you make those I can see what you're saying. So like if you're making that those top three things, one, you have a list, and then two, you're able to either execute that list or try to find a way to execute that because you may not know how. Like you said, they're in the powerhouse of coaching, but they may not know how to send that newsletter out, which is not, I'm not saying surprising because there's probably a lot of people that may not know a lot of things about how to build a website. Like for me, I know how to build a website.
Mhm.
So when I know how to build the website and I have the vision in my head, sometimes there's things where I'm like, what is a RSPM or what, and for me, I like to search, like do the research, figure it out until
Mhm.
I frustrate myself to figure out and I don't know why I like that. I feel like I like a challenge and then I'm like, it's not succeeded and it goes from there. But with Six Figures Chicks, what surprised you? What have came across like who came across you that was very surprising with doing the book?
Yeah, well, I've met a number of women that, I have found through networking or through referrals from other
Mhm,
authors that I think, oh my gosh, they're so successful. They've been in business for so many years. They outwardly project success and
mhm,
confidence. And then when I speak with them and I get to know them and I build relationships with them, and then they, come on to a book project and I get to work with them through those 3 months of writing and sharing their story and see the
mhm,
transformation in their face of going, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this would be this impactful in
mhm,
my life. And so just seeing the transformation in these authors from day one to
mhm,
launch and seeing their book on the screen available for the world to buy, of going, wow, that's a full circle moment of seeing
mhm.
somebody that I thought was hugely successful, to seeing them along this path, to seeing them in an area that they've never been before, and
Mhm.
so much joy and gratitude for their own success and where they've come from and where they're at now. And it was just something that they had no idea how it would be, so transformative. And I get so much
I
joy of seeing that.
I like that. I like where like at the end where they get towards their book launch, they're like really healed. Like it's a healing thing for them
Yeah, it's
where like
healing and it's so exciting because, their friends, their family, their clients, they all know about it because
mhm,
this is something that we all are preparing to market and promote to the
mhm,
world to buy and introduce them as published authors. So it's amazing for them to be able to see other people and
mhm,
their reaction, and um they're just now finding out about this side of the author. That's
mhm.
not something that, because we don't talk too much about our personal lives on social media or to our clients' faces or, at large events. So when we do share something a little more personal, it is a great kind of conversation starter of things that you would never talk about with other people. But it is so freeing and it can open up those new conversations that you would never have had before without the book.
Or it could start something where you have a manifestation list. It can start something where um a vision board, keep adding on to your vision board and start knocking those things down. So I can see where I could see it. I could see the vision of Six Figure Chicks and I see why you do that. And I really applaud you for doing that because not a lot of people want to maybe be too afraid to step into the entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
or step out that 9 to 5 because they may have been with the company for 20, 30 years. And that's just something that they just want to remain. But for listeners out there, I feel like if there's something that you want to go for and feel like you want to go for it, I think that you should jump to it. Uh, and still, you can still do your 9 to 5, but I preferentially think that if now is the time with me, when I first started the podcast, I kept saying that it's on my vision board. It's going to happen in 2023. Nothing happened. I started thinking it was going to be a crafting podcast. And I was like, not a lot of people going to like the crafting because all they're going to hear is the little machine and it's not going to work out. So that's not going to work. But when I literally went to sleep and I didn't even know my phone was next to me. I literally went to sleep and I popped up out of nowhere and just said, I'm just going to record it and I'm just going to put it out there. I'm glad that I did it because now I'm having 30. This will be 33 episodes, so which
Okay.
is pretty cool. And met so many different people, so many walks of life that's came on this podcast, from doctors to nurse practitioners. Um, Now you're here. TED talkers coming on, dads are coming on. So I feel like with each message that I'm giving out, it's rewarding. And I've been getting the comments of saying, "Hey, Eric, I'm glad you're talking about things that not a lot of people talk about." And so that's why I also want to bring businesses and entrepreneurship on the side of the podcast, because there's maybe somebody that's out there that just don't know where to start that 9 to 5, and they're going to start it. So I'm glad I have you on the podcast today.
Yay.
Now we're getting a little deeper here
Mhm.
because we've already talked about six figure chicks. We've already touched base a little bit about Cloverseed, which we're going to get a little bit more into that. But I want to talk about your nonprofit because I have been so intrigued. Okay. So, first and foremost, how did you come up with the name of Her Right to Rise? What was the transformation that you witnessed with the mission? And what do you hope your legacy will leave with this nonprofit?
Great questions. Okay, so let's see if I can remember. So, her
Let's
right to
let's break
rise.
it down.
Yeah. Okay, her right to rise. Um, it first began last year. So when we were launching the second book in the Six Figure Chick series,
Mhm.
I'm always thinking about how I can give back more to the authors that have said yes to these books. And I thought back to when I was younger, 15, 16. I didn't even know what a mentor was. I had no idea that I could talk to other people, adults, and ask them for advice or insight,
Mhm.
knowledge.
Mhm.
And I began, you know, thinking back to also the women in my adulthood, the younger ladies that I've been speaking to, and they're still in the same kind of positions of like, they don't know who to talk to. They don't
Mhm.
know that, there are people like you and me that are here and would love to give out listening ear or
For
advice
sure.
or insight. I love giving out information to anyone that would ask. And so I thought, okay, authors, let's do something more amazing than, just writing a book, sharing our stories, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
Let's get back to our community. Let's leave that lasting legacy within our own communities, the young women that are leading our country,
Mhm.
and the tools and knowledge necessary to lead more successful lives. So I thought at first I was like, let's find different nonprofits to support. And
Mhm.
and then the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, well, I know who I want to impact, which are
Right.
young women. So why
Mhm.
not create my own nonprofit? Like, dream big.
Dream big. Like, here in Texas, they say go big or go home. So you have dreamed so big. And when I heard about your nonprofit, I said, there's not a lot of women that do nonprofits. And that's something where I'm very intrigued on. Um, with nonprofits. So if you are a nonprofit out there and you want to become on the podcast, feel free to either message me on Instagram. You can email me. Of course, I have a whole website as well. But like I said, if you know anybody that has a nonprofit, send them my way, because I feel like nonprofits are not often talked about, especially with the way our economy is happening right now. And I feel like women are being challenged a lot in every space. Every space that's happening right now in our economy, where it you have to compete for the best numbers in a 9 to 5, or you have to um I don't want to say be secretive or be quiet about your what's the word, your space or your growth. And like you said, sharing your wins. I feel like if we share our wins more often and we get more people being elated about sharing their own wins or their diversity of what they feel like. So I like that you have a nonprofit, because it does gear for young women. And especially with me, I want to teach my daughter that they are nonprofits out there. Like, we're going through a phase right now where I'm teaching her that there's different people that have disabilities. And I told her no matter what that disability may be, always be nice, you always be kind, you open the door and you just be great. And I feel like she's going into that confidence shift of where, you're in first grade, now you're in second grade, now you're going to be in third grade next year. And I'm like looking at like the challenges of the competency. And I was like, well, am I putting that into her where I'm not being like, you don't see your mom really that confident that if you see it with me, then that means it's transferring over to her. So, and I didn't want that for her. So with the nonprofit, do you have anything encouraging, like any affirmations you want to put out there for anybody?
I created, the name Her Right to Rise because I've seen firsthand through the women that have become the international bestselling authors through Six Figure Chicks of how transformative, again, like I mentioned earlier, that
Mhm,
writing is so healing. And I say, together we rise, together we change lives. And that's exactly what the authors are doing in this nonprofit is it is her right to rise. And we spell it WRITE, in writing those words to help us all be empowered and motivate us for more. And so I'm
mhm,
using authors and their experience and their expertise in giving personalities to give back to these young women so that we can enable them the power to rise above and become as successful as us or more than us. And we have our next mentorship day coming up March 14th, 2026. We'll be
okay,
here in Phoenix. And that's where we'll invite the authors from all over the world to come together for one day and
mhm.
leave as much good knowledge and fun times and expertise and love in these young women's lives. And we're taking it a step further to
Mhm,
partner with one of our Six Figure Chicks authors, Lorraine Tallman. She's the
mhm,
founder of Amanda Hope, and she created the
okay.
Comfort Cozies for children in chemotherapy. So it's the coverings while they're in treatment. So
I
we are going
love
to
that.
empower the mentees by giving back to their next generations and creating little vision capes. I always love saying little vision capes for
Oh,
these
I love that.
heroes in chemotherapy so that they can give back to their next generation, but then
Mhm.
also understand how important it is to receive our information and knowledge that day. So it's a great ripple effect of giving back to our communities in so many ways.
With the holidays coming around, there's a lot of things that I want to say that everybody should be grateful for. And I want to take the time to talk about it on today's episode because there's a lot of things that, with the way everything is going around, people are getting sick and the government being shut down and people not getting paid. I want to take the time really to say we are very grateful to be in the positions that we're in to be able to speak, about these different authors and be able to have a podcast to give a voice for other people that may not have that platform to give. And I want to say that to anyone that is listening, don't give up on yourself because you never know. Betting on yourself just one time or maybe two times, you're going to see something that's so fulfilling. And I didn't think with this year wrapping up almost, can't believe it's November, by the way, that with this year wrapping up, I'm so mind blown with the way that I have a whole platform to help other people. So I just wanted to take the time, first and foremost, Mel. I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom,
So
your fire, and your heart for being on this podcast. To me, I say you're a living proof, and women can rise and they can heal and they can lead, they can be successful. Even men, not leaving you out, men can be successful too, but without losing that sense of hope and without losing that sense of softness for their soul. So, without further ado, Mel, before we wrap up, I want to ask you where can the listeners find you? Of course, they're going to listen to this awesome podcast, of course, but where can they connect with your community and connect with you fulfilling?
wonderful. Thank you. So anyone can find me by simply putting in Six Figure Chicks, and we will all show up. But it is sixfigurechicks.com, cloverseed.com. I'm in all the major social platforms, Mel C, Mel Carr. I'm discoverable because thankful to all the many books, all the many authors that we have. Like, you can find new connections. We have well over 100 authors in the book series and growing. So yes, we're all over.
I'm excited. And like, I'm excited for the simple fact that now I've made a new friend, as I always say on the podcast. And I'm for sure going to be following you on all socials. Before I wrap up, I want to say you guys are worthy more than you know. Your next level is waiting for you. And like I stated, two things can be true. You can have a 9 to 5 and you can still be successful. Take a look. I'm trying to be a living proof here. Until next time, I want to thank you, Mel, for being on the podcast of the Balanced Boss Mom. My name is Erika. You can listen to all of the episodes on the website, which is balancedbossmompodcast.com. You can also find me on all social media platforms, which is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And lastly, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, whether you're listening to this morning, noon, and night. Until next time, thank you again, Mel. And thank you for being on the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. Bye, guys.